Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode we're actually playing Frostpunk. A very challenging scenario today. It is the Fall of Winterhome. Didn't realise just how challenging it was. With over 100 hours in the game, I thought how hard could it be. So I just jumped right on in and yeah, 46 attempts later and I'm still actually losing. So if you want to see a bit of pain and suffering, and then the very last clip will actually be my closest to success. Unfortunately, I was trying this in survivor mode for about 45 attempts, and then at the very end decided, right, I'm going to take it off survivor mode, kick it down to medium, like standard difficulty, and try that. Got very close, and ultimately ended up failing.
To whoever is out there, if anyone, know that we were here. We did our best. We, the survivors, doomed by our own mistakes, aware of the risks and the price to pay. We took our last chance. And we failed.
So here we are in attempt number 1. This is all about just getting back into the swing of things. I've not played this game for a long time. If you're not familiar with this scenario though, we've been put in charge of a failing city that's on the brink of self-destruction. They've already revolted and overthrown the last captain, so we're put in charge to bring it back more or less. It's very challenging. Straight off the bat, I ramped the steam level right up to level 3. That was a massive no-no. Don't have enough coal coming in, so that's just going to end badly. This also had the knock-on effect of making the burial pit too warm and causing a danger of disease. However, I did come across a fleeting moment of hope where I seen this message where the discontent falls to a certain level. That means they're not going to chuck me out in 2 days, so that was a bit of a win. Short-lived though, as the generator started shutting down straight after. Then I realised that the steam hubs that were originally put in place are all set to 24 hours. Then I made the bad decision of actually enabling the heaters on the medical tents. The reason it's a bad decision is, 1, generator's already shut down, I don't have coal, and 2, we don't have enough coal coming in to support everything that I need to heat here, so going forward I try different methods to combat this. Just a day later the generator shuts down again, due to obviously overuse on coal. We're only getting 800 in from the outpost, so it's not really sufficient. That's me just being delivered a message that I need to raise hope, or they're going to kick me out in a couple of days. At this point, I was kind of giggling to myself, I must be as bad as the person that put this city in place to begin with. Left it there, and went on to the next one. This attempt is all about speed. I do believe it's something like attempt number 44. At this point, I'm kind of thinking, right, I need to get in quick, and I'm going to start demolishing things I don't think I need, and really start focusing on gathering the materials that I feel I do need. It seems to go reasonably well up to a certain point, but there's still room for improvement. So I'm dedicating as many workers to gathering up steel, and then I'm also thinking it's a good idea to gather up as much wood around about the steam hub, like the generator itself, because there's a lot of ruins that are made of wood around there, and then there's a lot of ruins kicking about that are made of steel. So at this point I'm kind of thinking steel, wood, and then upgrade as many places to bunkhouses and try and get a lot of the population in the heat zones. Thought behind that was to try and minimise the number of sick people. But this is such a hard challenge that I really don't know where I'm going wrong. So I'm trying to move a lot more of the population into the heat zone here, as you can see. And then deleting a whole pile of tents across here. And then we just continue the theme, adding more houses and then removing the cold ones that are not in heat zones. And just a bit of restructuring around about the generator as well, before we start building in some more houses. So the next thing I wanted to do was open up the Book of Laws and actually mandate soup. This would help stretch my rations just a little bit further. That's why I've not cooked anything so far. So I'll hopefully try and use the raw food a bit better, if that makes sense. I don't know if this helped a lot or just not at all, or I'm not entirely sure, to be fair. It's helped in previous playthroughs that I've done in the past, but I'm not too sure how much it's helped in this one. So far, between all my runs, I've actually found that one of the biggest hurdles is trying to build up hope. And a lot of that is due to the number of sick people dying, but you can't outpace that by building medical tents, nor can you outpace it by building infirmaries. I've tried implementing care homes, I've tried going down the religious route and like the healing, house of healing. I've tried so many different ways just to try and improve the number of sick people dying, and it's like almost impossible. So if you guys have any suggestions, obviously feel free, but I really can't see another way around it. I even tried in one run to reduce the population early and then try and save some of it, but that actually has a very bad effect later on because you need more population. So yeah, I don't know how to get around it on survivor mode. Obviously don't know how to do it on standard mode either, but at least it's a slightly better run. So next run I'm going to show you that. So here we are with my final attempt, and it's not because I got sick of the game. I absolutely love this game. I do love a challenge as well, but at this point I have spent around about 20 minutes per playthrough. I think the shortest one was about 17, but on average I've spent about 20 minutes per playthrough, and that's 46 playthroughs, so I'll let you guys work that out. All I can say is, I spent some amount of time just trying to get a decent run, and I have ended up with just a failure, like, video. I don't mean that as in a bad way. I mean, this is to showcase just how difficult this scenario actually is, and oof, if you guys have a solution to it, let me know, because I would love to try anything, just to see how it affects. But enough of me babbling, we'll just carry on. So I start off by restructuring some of the area around about the generator, just around that bottom area. You'll also notice that when you're not in survival mode, the temperature is at 30 instead of 40, and you start off with 300 raw food instead of just 200, and you start off with 900 coal instead of, I believe it was 800. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but survivor mode is a massive challenge. I don't know why I thought I could do it, but hey, it provided for an interesting learning experience. Why not jump back in at the deep end? Now I'm going with the similar strategy of gathering up metal and wood, but I also want to prioritise coal. So as you can see here, I am getting manning the coal thumpers and gathering posts that were already here, and then I start selecting some ruins to deconstruct as well. Food is also a main priority, so I want to use the existing hunters' huts, and then if I need to move them later on, I'll do so. And I'll start building some tents in the centre area as well, putting a gathering post to start gathering this end of the ruins, and then just have a moment trying to click the people button. So I end up removing these 3 medical tents, and that's more out of habit than anything else. I wasn't really thinking about the whole temperature thing at the time, but to be fair, if I had used them and the temperature dropped just by that -10, that would have ended up putting them out of commission. I would have had to turn on the heaters, and once again, coal is always an issue. Obviously I didn't realise until I'm editing this that coal's constantly sitting full, and I've got the coal thumpers running, so that could be another thing that I could have improved on. And I was just getting a lot of those wooden ruins selected as well. I don't want too many workers sitting idle all the time. I do want some sitting idle just for building buildings, but I don't want a lot of them sitting idle. As you can see, I also decided to move the snow pit out of the city. I think I started doing that around about attempt number 30, and it just sort of helps clear one slot. It's not much, but it helps clear one slot. Sometimes I was putting a gathering post in there, sometimes I wasn't, but it just gets it out of the city. It doesn't become a problem with disease then. Trying to keep up momentum, I ended up building a wall drill as well, just to try and keep the wood coming in. Because obviously these ruins are going to run out eventually, and they are a bit slow, so if I can supplement that with the wall drill, that's absolutely great. I also remembered at that point that the coal thumpers actually outpace the gathering posts, so decided to drop the coal thumpers down to only half the number of workers. At this point I was beginning to overflow with the wood that I was building up, so decided to put in 3 storages, and one of them would at least be dedicated to coal, because I also realised that I'm getting daily shipments of 800 and I'm gathering lots of coal, so it's never really going down, and that is one of the requirements later on in this scenario. Not that I actually knew that at the time, but it would have served me better if I put in more storages for coal and built up a lot more coal. I also wanted to try and get on top some of the medical requirements, so I started putting in medical posts. I now decided it was time to start researching, so put in a couple of workshops as well. One of my previous attempts I did actually just spam workshops and try and rush the tech tree, but that didn't work out very well either. I think that was probably the 17-minute one, it shortened it quite a bit. I'm going to quickly apologise for the way my voice is now sounding. It's been a couple of days since I last was editing, so I'm a bit rough sounding with a cold at the moment, so I do apologise for that. We will get engineers in these medical posts and that'll start actually treating some more of the sick. They can only take 5 at a time, so it's not really going to do too much, but at least we'll be treating a little bit more. Just try to keep into the habit of actually removing the tents as I go as well, that way it gives me some wound back, so they're not getting used anyway. And as we can see here, I'm getting the final warning, the people are desperate, and it's due to hope yet again. I do apologise if you were wanting to read those messages. I wasn't really thinking at the time, I've seen them that many times, I'm just clicking OK on them. And we shall finally send scouts out into the wasteland. There's quite a lot of steam cores and steel out in the wasteland, so I probably should have done it earlier, but I ended up doing it at this point. Ah yes, as the temperature drops, that's when we start getting the frostbite message as well. So it might be worth looking into the radical treatment. I'll try and counteract that. I ended up upgrading a lot of the tents to bunkhouses. That way it increases their temperature insulation level just a little bit. At this point I'm going to put the churches down, and that's more or less just a quick attempt at trying to get the hope back up, because 1, I'm fulfilling a promise, 2, you can actually use them to produce hope. I do really like getting the flying hunters put in as well. They bring back a lot more food than the hunters' huts, so they're expensive, but they're pretty good. I prefer them over hot houses because the hot houses actually take steam cores, and I want to save steam cores for infirmaries. Just kind of balancing the resources there. And I'll take that as a win because hope has been restored for the moment. And we'll upgrade some more homes. The next little bit was more of the same, adding new houses, restructuring a little bit, and upgrading some more houses.
Get back to work.
Shortly after finishing this off, I unlocked the shrines in the Book of Lots. If you're not familiar with shrines, these actually improve the efficiency of nearby workplaces and also give them hope as well. That's the only reason I went down the religious route. Very quickly got to placing as many of these around the workplaces as I could. After, I was encouraged to start treating some of the sick people. I suppose the numbers are a bit high, so I'll give them that. Also took this opportunity to upgrade some more houses. And that gets our healthcare promise fulfilled. So the goal is to try and get the discontent lowered to below 25% and try and get hope up to 50% before it moves us on to the next phase. With healthcare in mind, I unlocked the House of Healing in the Book of Laws, and this is very useful because I don't actually need engineers to man this. It can be general workers or even children, and it still takes the same number of people in as an infirmary. It does treat them slower though, so it's a bit of a trade-off, but it's still very useful indeed. I'm thinking of adding extra production on food, so in here I'll put in a hothouse. That way, that way they can produce food during the day, and then we can get the flying hunters during the night. Try and just constantly having raw food coming in. So right after getting this built, I decided to try and actually get in some more resources, and then the easy way to do this is because I've built a lot more extra tents and bunkhouses in the hotter areas. They're no longer using the tents in the colder areas, so that'll get me back some of the resources that were used to build them in the first place. So it's good to try and clean up after myself here, I believe. And right as we finish doing some of them, we get the infirmary research, so that's going to be absolutely fantastic going forward, because I can take in 10 sick people at a time. It works twice as fast, I believe, as a medical post, so it's going to be great. The only downside to this is they do use steam cores, so I need to be mindful of that going forward. Pretty much straight away I placed down my first infirmary. Next major hurdle is now going to be food, so in order to get past that I'm going to place some more flying hunter huts. There's another major milestone as well. The infirmary mechanisation is researched, and that actually halves the number of engineers required in an infirmary, so technically you could double up on your infirmaries and still use the same number of engineers, obviously, so also a really nice thing. Care house put in place as well, or multiple care houses in this instance, because that'll actually help clear up some of the rooms or beds from the infirmaries and medical posts. That'll be great. The next thing I did to try and improve hope was to sign the temple in the Book of Laws as well. Get that built, and then I can try and get the hope up to the right level. And this will then in turn let me actually investigate what's wrong with the generator. This is the point where all my hard work is actually paying off. So now that we've got the hope above where it needs to be, we can actually start looking into what's wrong with the generator. First off, we need to research the repair station. So once the previous tech finishes, I'll look into that. Gather up some more resources with gathering posts around about as well. Because there's still some ruins, so that'll be a good idea. And we'll start working on the repair station now. And there we go, we'll get that put in place. I find it's always a good idea to keep the screws moving. So we're now getting a good idea just where this scenario is going to take us. The last dreadnought that's next to us that hasn't been dismantled for parts, we are going to have to fix that up. Or that's the idea I was getting at this point. Now, I do think Faith Keepers is a good option to actually start going down, because during my survival runs I kept on obviously having the option of using Faith Keepers, but I'd never get far enough to use them, so definitely think it's a good idea to get them in at this point, because I had a feeling I was going to need them going forward. Oh boy, was I right. I found an automaton on the map as well that I didn't even know was here, so definitely want to take advantage of that and actually send it back. Yes, it'll use up coal, but I think it would be worth it.
Gather your tools. The shift is ending.
And there's the infirmary checklist complete as well, making all healthcare options much more, well, not much more, but more efficient anyway. And finally we have Faith Keepers. Long after this, I was told the generator condition was getting worse. Now, when this message first popped up during the playthrough, I was rather concerned, telling me that they have finished the inspection and that it has a catastrophic flaw, and that it'll keep breaking down. Each malfunction will cause the stress within the generator to start rising. Great. So we can patch it up using the repair station. Unfortunately, the fixes won't last long. The generator will eventually break down permanently and then explode from the rising stress. Yeah. So at this point we're given a choice to either lie to everyone and tell them we know of another city, which I don't like the option, or to be honest, and unfortunately that will drop hope. But I have to go honest. I don't want any repercussions, and I would feel bad. Even though it's a game, I would feel bad. So going forward, we're going to have to send little teams to the Dreadnought, starting with engineers and then working our way up to supplies and everything in between. So we have to build an evacuation centre. Our little scout team has actually found survivors out of the storm shelters, so we're going to have to send them back. And we'll definitely start looking into repair station improvements. Hopefully that'll help us going forward. Straight away we'll send as many engineers. Now I actually did kind of muck up here. I should have sent more engineers to start with, but I must admit that looks absolutely cool. At this point I also had loads of food building up, so I decided to sign the extra rations for ill.
Listen, everyone. New law is
And immediately just start putting that into place. The automaton has finally arrived, so go get him put straight to work. So I decided to select the optimized shifts for the next technology as well.
Workday ends. It's time off.
have our first generator failure. So we better start getting that sorted out as soon as. This is where things get a little tricky because I have to start pulling engineers from other places.
Bundle up. It's getting colder. Get to work. Move, people.
And due to the generator shutting down, the automaton can't refuel either, so get this nice lovely message. It's perfect, we have our first crew in place on the Dreadnought at this point, so end up just seeing what else I need to put in place. And I want to try and send as many children as I can first, and then whatever the resources I can spare as well. Try and chuck as much as possible at it all at once. Don't know if that's the right move or not, but I end up doing it anyway. But at least the generator's operational again, so we can start getting heat back into place. So I already want to start producing prosthetics. That way, obviously, I can get all the survivors out, because at the moment they'll be stuck. That, plus if I need them to, I can also put them to work until everyone's evacuated. Heartless, I know, but needs must. I've now asked if I can send all the children, if I can. I do have the option to say we can't afford it, but it's in my head, you know, if it was a real scenario, you would want to send as many children as possible. So, of course that's what I did. Or should I say, of course that's what I promised. After seeing this message, I'm also glad that I decided to sign the prosthetics already. All I need to do is research the factory and then that's us. We can start producing prosthetics. And I see this lonely father one come up as well. And his only son's been sent to the Dreadnought, so I do feel for him and decide to send them. It's only one worker. That also adds a little to the hope, so win-win I suppose. Although I did very quickly regret that decision, because then I've been shown given unfair treatment, so yeah, they've got a point. I shouldn't have done it. But at the same time, I kind of fell for them. Now I can't afford all these workers going, so yeah, we have to use force.
Workday ends. It's time off.
Now I suppose, watching this and editing it, I'm kind of thinking that I should have had more resource depots for the coal earlier on. If I knew this was obviously happening to begin with, this is how it was going to play out. I would have had more resource depots for coal. I would have gathered up a lot more wood, metal, well before this point. But unfortunately I didn't do that, so here we are. We do find some stowaways on the Dreadnought, so we're going to have to send the guards in, because I'm not going to give them fair treatment again. They've taught me that lesson, so yeah. Sorry guys. temperatures dropped to a rather chilly minus 60 degrees, which, as you can probably expect, really raises the number of sick, so whoops, I didn't really prepare very well for that one. I also feel this is another thing that I should have had in place a lot earlier was advanced steelworks, because we need a lot of steel at this point. Another thing, hindsight is a beautiful thing. Decide to enact the organ transplants as well. That way it can increase the speed at which the sick recover. Probably should have signed that a bit earlier on, but I didn't think about it until now. So we've managed to refit the dreadnought with accommodation and supplies, so now we need to supply it with coal. I also have the choice to refit it to take more people and more provisions, but that's something that I really need a lot more steel for and a lot more food for, so I should have been prepared for it a lot sooner. So after researching the factory, I decided that I don't really need to do any more research, so I pulled the engineers out of the workshops. And we now have our second failure of the generator. Keep in mind that problems just keep getting worse as time goes on, as failures keep happening, so yeah, not going to be good. I've also sent off a number of engineers to the dreadnought, so we're now down like 25 or 30 engineers. So, also not helpful. After pulling all available engineers from everywhere else and putting them into the repair station, the temperature of the generator dropped so low that you end up seeing everybody is freezing, so that's not handy either. Everything just started going downhill so quick, so it was oof. That's a technical term, have you know. That was oof. We are now met with this message saying that people have now heard that there's limited space aboard the dreadnought. They're getting rather tense and anxious, and that's going to drop the hope and raise the discontent. So that's not handy either.
Workday ends. It's off time.
And not too long later, we managed to get the generator repaired and back up and running, so can't complain. Although, we are met with a nice little message saying that the heat zone range is reduced by 10%. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually turned out to be so much more than what I thought. There was buildings that were cut off, so yeah, I was not prepared for that. I really did consider just letting this family go, because we're at a point where it's kind of not really going to make a difference, but then I decided, you know what, it might have some like bad repercussions, so I'll stick with it, forcing them to stay. Once again, very slow to act on it. It took me ages to get this factory built, but I suppose better late than never. Our scout team has found yet another steam core, so that's great. So after building the factory, I decide to start moving about the engineers from the repair station and putting them in like, places that they're going to be. This is another instance where I found that the 10% reduction in the heat zone really made a big difference, so this infirmary is not covered anymore. That led me to actually decide to research the like heat zone increase. I don't know if that was a good move or not, because obviously that doubles the coal usage as well, so I really don't know if it was a good idea. I don't think it was, but it sounded good at the time. And now time to send another load of goods and people from the evacuation centre.
Get to work. Move, people. There's plenty to do.
So we've finally started producing prostheses, and it's a little too late, I'm afraid, to catch the Save the Children sort of task we have. I would say it's another nail in the coffin for this playthrough, but hey ho. At this point I was kind of enjoying the last challenge. So we're met for the third and final time with a generator malfunction. And I say final because it takes me so long to actually repair this one that I start getting message after message of people saying it's taking too long. People start freezing to death. It's really the final nail, I would say. So I'll go around some of the steam hubs and reduce the range on them.
Work time. Get moving.
And I'm met by another message of people trying to escape. So they're trying to equip themselves with food and wood although there's no food for them to take, so they don't get any rations, but they're trying to equip themselves with wood, and ultimately I choose to stop them. And then we're alerted to the fact that we'll only be able to evacuate amputees if we've made the prostheses for them. We also have the engineers approach us and say that they need to go to the dreadnought, so ultimately I decide, no, I need you here. Which is true, I need them for producing prosthetics and everything, so... So this is the first time we need to ask the Faith Keepers to actually step in. We met with a message of people complaining that the generator's still down, and unfortunately I can't speed up the repairs, so I just need to tell them I'm doing what I can. I don't want to disperse the crowd because people will get hurt. Only the next day, the discontent is so high that people are furious, and I'm on my final warning. So I'm going to ask the Faith Keepers to step in, and straight after I'm given another final warning, and I don't have any Faith Keepers this time to help me, so I need to just select that we must hold on for a couple more days. And this is definitely a downward spiral. People are getting even more desperate and asking me if I can repair the generator immediately. I mean, I'm only doing what I can, so... This generator finally operational again, so they can stop harassing me. And we'll get this other transport sent out. And there's now a riot at the evacuation centre, so I'm going to use lethal force to stop them as well.
End of shift. Go rest all you can.
Well, apparently I lied and there's one more generator shut down, but that doesn't make any difference anyway, because ultimately I get banished. So, as we approach the end of this episode, I would like to thank you all for watching. I apologise for actually being so late. I didn't realise it would take me 2 weeks to actually get this one sorted. I'll try and get the next one sorted a bit quicker, but it's just really work commitments and things like that that has really slowed me down. I've thoroughly enjoyed playing this game again, and I do hope to do more videos on it. If you did enjoy it though, I would very much appreciate a like, and if you're not subscribed already, give a subscribe and let me know if you do want to see more videos on this, or I'm going to be still doing the Timberborn series anyway, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, thank you for your time, thank you for spending time with me, and I'll catch you in the next one.